Welcome to this series of short videos that we've put together to help you. In fact, to help all of us to take steps in our journey of faith. I want to thank you for joining us, and I hope that these videos are helpful for you. I also want to invite you, please don't hesitate to contact us along the way if you've got any questions or suggestions, or even if you just want to encourage us, because we love that as well. We want to begin at the beginning. And I want to do it by asking a very important question. How do I become a friend of Jesus? And to help us answer that question, I want to look at what happened for someone who became Jesus' friend 2,000 years ago. And we find his story in the Gospel of Luke in chapter 5. Let me read it to you. Later, as Jesus left the town, he saw a tax collector named Levi, who was sitting at his tax collector's booth. "Follow me and be my disciple," Jesus said to him. And so Levi got up, left everything, and followed him. Later, Levi held a banquet in his own home, with Jesus as the guest of honor. And many of Levi's fellow tax collectors and other guests also ate with them. Thinking about this, I want to ask you another question. What do you invest yourself in? How do you invest your time? Where do you spend your money? I mean, people give themselves to all kinds of things. Maybe it might be an online app or a game. Maybe it's a sporting club or a special interest. But people will invest incredible amounts of time and even money in groups and activities. People have said that religions fall into this category, and there's some truth to that thought. And while for some, being a Christian can start out like this, or it can even be an ongoing aspect of their faith, following Jesus is fundamentally different. At least it's meant to be. So maybe today it'd be good to begin by asking a question that's at its very heart: what does it mean to be a Christian? Well, first and foremost, being a Christian is about a relationship. It's about a friendship even, although it gets a whole lot deeper than that. A very special friendship. At the heart of Christianity is a relationship with Jesus. That's what it was for the first disciples 2,000 years ago, and nothing has changed. Today it is exactly the same. In the reading I just read, we met a guy by the name of Levi. Levi left what he was doing to become a friend of Jesus, to become a disciple, and to follow Jesus. He left his old life behind, and he followed Jesus everywhere. We also find other stories in the Bible, stories of other people who might not have left their job and their family and their community behind, and yet they stayed in their own communities but continued to build a relationship with Jesus, a relationship that changed their whole lives. And you and I are invited to do exactly the same thing today. But the first thing that we need to consider, and this is vitally important, we need to ask, who is Jesus? Why would we want to follow him? In other words, is Jesus someone that we should follow? And this is where reading the Bible, and especially the Gospels that tell the story of Jesus' life on earth, it's a really important thing for us to do as we begin a relationship with Jesus. In our reading, here is Levi. Now, he's also called Matthew. That's the same Matthew that wrote the first gospel of the New Testament. Matthew had obviously seen something about Jesus that he liked. And he thought, here is a guy that's worth finding out more about, even worth following. And so he left his job and he began to follow Jesus. He began a personal relationship with Jesus. Now, to begin with, I suspect Matthew wouldn't have known Jesus very well. I'd imagine if along the way he discovered, well, actually Jesus isn't really worth following, he's not worth giving my whole life to, then Matthew would have turned around and gone back home again and moved on to something else. But he didn't. In fact, he was so convinced that Jesus was worthy not only of our friendship, but to build the foundation of our life upon, that he wrote the Gospel of Matthew, a gospel that describes Jesus, so that even 2,000 years later, we can know that Jesus is trustworthy, that he's worthy of our friendship, he's worthy of being the foundation of our life. Matthew was so convinced of this, he even gave his life to faithfully follow Jesus and to invite others to do the same. Another person that did the same thing is the Apostle Paul. He'd have to be one of the most famous followers of Jesus in all of history. And he wrote this about Jesus. He said, though Jesus was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. And instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. When he appeared in human form, he humbled himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on a cross. In another short session, our next session, I'm going to spend some time talking about why it was necessary for Jesus to die on the cross. Because that is the most important aspect of who Jesus is and what he has done for you and I that we need to understand. And it's also the strongest reason that we have as to why Jesus is a trustworthy friend, one who is worthy of us following him. But today, let me ask you a couple of very simple questions. My first question is this: if you never considered becoming a Christian, if you've never considered following Jesus, can I encourage you to do that today? Can I encourage you to do that right now, in fact? Will you choose to begin a friendship with Jesus? I want you to remember it's a relationship, it's not a religion. So it begins by getting to know the one whom we are following. The best way that we can do that is to read about him in the Bible and to speak with him in prayer. And your prayer can be something as simple as just telling him what you are learning as you read. You see, that's what prayer is. It's conversation. It's telling God what's on our heart, what we're learning, what we're discovering, and inviting him to be a part of our life. My second question is similar, but it's a little bit different. Because you might be someone that has faith. You might believe in God or believe in a God, if you like. But I want to ask you, would you say that your faith in God is more like a religion than a relationship? Let me explain that. I mean, you might say that you're a Christian or you follow God, but when you think about it, your faith is more about doing things to please God, which is religion, rather than being a friend of God, which is a relationship. And I want to invite you to change that, just to change your focus and to think, I'm going to focus on being in relationship with God rather than just doing things to please God. Now, we will still do things to please God, but we will do it in a whole different mindset. We will do it out of friendship, not out of obligation. It's just like, I've got friends and I love my friends and I like doing things that make my friends happy. One of the things I like doing is making cups of coffee for people and doing things like that. And I know it pleases them and it pleases me to do it. So I do it out of friendship, but not out of obligation. And so I want to invite you to make a decision to build a relationship or to move your focus in your relationship with God to a friendship, to a relationship with him, not out of obligation, not a religion. Make that your motivation today. Make it your motivation as you read the Bible. Make it your motivation as you pray. And make it your motivation as you seek to do things throughout the day, every day, that would please him. If you choose either of these decisions, to consider becoming a Christian, investing in a relationship with Jesus for the first time, or changing the focus of your faith from religion to relationship, then I want to suggest that you are going to need some help. And we would love to be there for you to help you. Matthew, in our reading today, he didn't follow Jesus alone. He became a part of a group who loved and supported him as they learned together and followed Jesus. There are other people in the Bible. They didn't get up and join that group, but they stayed at home. They built communities where they could grow and be supported in their relationship with Jesus as well. as a community of people who have chosen to build their life on a relationship with Jesus, we would love to connect with you. We'd love to support you and to help you as you explore and as you grow in relationship with Jesus. And along the way, I suspect, in fact, I'm fairly confident that you're going to help and support us and others as well, and encourage us in our faith as well. So would you please let us know how we can help you, how we can pray with you, and how we can walk with you as you begin or you continue your journey of faith. It is the most wonderful and life-changing journey of your life. It's a journey, in fact, that lasts not just a lifetime, but all eternity. Because a friend of Jesus, those who are in a loving relationship with him, the Bible tells us and makes it very clear, we will live in that relationship forever, for all eternity. Can I pray for you? Oh God, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for who you are. You're a mighty God and you've done wonderful things. But as wonderful and as big and as enormous as you are in all of that, one of the most amazing things about you is that you're a God who is interested in each one of us personally, and you long for us to be in a relationship with you. You love us, and you long for us to love you in relationship in return. And I want to pray for everybody that might be listening to this or participating in this along the way. And I know that you're with them, and I know that you're reaching out to them and inviting them into that same relationship, a relationship that I know you invited me into some years ago. And I pray that as we choose to have that relationship with you, as we choose to read the Bible and discover about who you are, and especially about your Son, Jesus Christ, that we would discover the richness and the wonder of a relationship with you. I want to pray for those of us that maybe we've been living our life more out of obligation of trying to please you rather than being in relationship and then pleasing you out of that relationship. I pray that you would help us to change our focus too, that we could follow you faithfully and discover the richness of a relationship with you. I pray that you bless my friends, bless each one of us as we continue in our relationship with Jesus, for we pray in his name. Amen. God bless you.